I'm very pleased to introduce Becky Benná.
When you think about your childhood and play, what comes to mind? Did you think about playing outdoors, whether it was riding your bikes, climbing trees, playing ball, building forts, or just playing with your friends outdoors all day and coming up with games? Well, for me, I began playing outdoors at a very young age. That's me at 2 years old in the sandbox. And I'm wondering if kids like myself and you will get to have those same kind of experiences. I was one of 5 kids growing up, and my parents were always saying, go outdoors and play. Come in at 6, come in at dinner, or come in at dark. They didn't really worry about us while we were playing outdoors. And in the summer months, one of our favorite rituals were to kick off our shoes, run around barefoot all day long, whether we were inside or outside. I love squeezing that cool mud between my toes, that soft touch of the green grass, or carefully maneuvering across the gravel driveway until our feet were tough enough. And boy, by the end of the summer, our feet were as tough as the soles of our shoes. Can anybody remember that? Well, another favorite memory of mine was going camping with my family. And of course, with 5 kids, my parents didn't have a whole lot of money to spend, but they always took us on a trip somewhere, whether we were camping in the mountains, in the woods, on the beach, or even in our own backyard. Now, tent camping was our choice of overnight hospitality. If you can see that tent, imagine this: 2 adults, 3 teenage girls, and 2 adolescent boys in that tent every night. Talk about family bonding, and we had plenty of it, let me tell you. And the question always was, who had to sleep at the end of the tent with everybody else's feet? Remember? So I'm sure many of you can relate to some of those stories, and you might be saying, well, those are nice, but so what? Well, I'm concerned that today's kids and future generations may not be as lucky enough to get outdoors and play in nature, and therefore develop a passion for it. You heard a little bit this morning about technology. Kids are spending about 7 hours a day in front of electronic screens. 7 hours, and only about 30 minutes of play in the outdoors. And I also read that even Steve Jobs, the guru, actually limited the amount of time his kids could be in front of the electronic screen. He wanted them to develop a love for creative expression and not to just get it from the computer screen. Now, I know many of us have those smartphones today. I know many of us have those electronic screens. And I know it's difficult to pull ourselves away from them, right? I struggle with that every day. But in addition to that, even though crime has continued to decline since the mid-1990s, our view about outdoor play and safety has certainly changed. I think if my parents allowed us to play outdoors, all 5 of us, all day long like we used to, unsupervised by an adult, that their parenting skills might be questioned a little bit. Think about yourselves. Are we raising a generation of kids that will never get to ride their bike alone, walk to a park alone, build a fort, climb a tree, or even hold a worm or catch a fish? Well, there is some good news. There are some national movements going on that recognize and value getting kids outdoors, such as Free Range Kids or Leave No Child Inside. Free Range Kids, I hear a little reaction to that one. It's really letting them get out and play and have fun. But one of the things that they focus on and they recognize that kids can learn many lessons from being in the outdoors. from having experiences and making choices. And I know as a child, I learned many lessons. And those lessons taught me and shaped me to who I am today as an adult. Whether I was riding my bike or playing outside, it taught me independence and responsibility. Sometimes, I'd have to cross the street. I had to make a choice. How do I safely get across that street? Or even when I was outdoors with my younger siblings, I was responsible for taking care of them. We love to build forts. My grandparents had a woods behind their house, and we would go out and forage all the timber and the limbs and the leaves, and we built what we thought were fantastic structures out there. It really did take creativity to design those forts, teamwork, compromise, and sometimes even negotiating skills to determine who got to be the queen or king of the fort that day. And I love to climb trees. And that little girl in that picture was really who I was as a child. I had a favorite tree in our front yard, and I would swing back and forth and back and forth. And one day I got a little too ambitious. I swung myself right off that tree, landed flat on my back, knocked the wind out of me, and it scared me to death. But I learned some lessons. Take calculated risks, and also certainly learn from my mistakes. And the amount of exercise I must have gotten while playing outdoors. Can you imagine if we only all had these Fitbits to track all those steps we took while we were playing outdoors? We had no idea that we were actually being healthy and just having fun, but getting a lot of exercise. And I really developed a love and appreciation for the sights and sounds of nature. Whether we were camping on the beach and listening to the sound of the ocean's crashing waves, or camping in the mountains or in the woods and listening to the sound of the rippling creek, or the hoot of an owl, or sometimes just laying under the silence of the stars and getting to see the Milky Way. Now, I was also lucky enough so far in my lifetime, 3 times, to be able to raft the Colorado River and hike and camp in the Grand Canyon. And I have to say, every time I take that trip, I recognize that we as human beings are just a mere blink of the eye compared to the river and the rocks of that Grand Canyon. The canyon really is nature's Sistine Chapel. It is one of the 7 wonders of the world, and it's our responsibility to cherish and protect it and other places like it. Now, you may be saying to yourselves, well, I already have my passion for the outdoors, or maybe you need to help someone find theirs, or even rediscover your own passion. So what I challenge you to do is to get outside and step outside your comfort zone. Put those smartphones down. Take a walk in the woods. Just sit and listen to the sound of nature. Go climb a tree. Or get outside and get muddy. Get dirty. Kick off your own shoes and squeeze that cool mud just between your own toes. Our passion for nature and the outdoors can be at the local, or it can be on a grand scale. I truly believe, though, it is our responsibility to set the example for today's generation and future generations to come. Because if we don't, who will? Thanks.